How can you read a CSV file in Python? Python's standard library has a CSV module, which has a reader function within it. We can use the reader function by passing it an iterable of lines, which usually involves passing it a file object, because files in Python are iterables, and as we loop over them, we'll get back each line in our file. We can call csv.reader to get back a reader object. We can then loop over that reader object to get the rows within it. Now, as we loop over a CSV reader object, it will loop over the file object that we originally gave it, and it'll convert each line in our file to a list of strings. Each list represents one row in our file, and each string in each list represents the data in one column in that row. Now, note that csv.reader doesn't know or care about the headers in our file. It treats every row equally. We can try to work around this by recognizing that reader objects are actually iterators, not just iterables. So just like file objects, we can pass reader objects to the built-in next function to get just their next row. If we wanted to skip over the first row in our file, skipping over these headers, we could pass reader to the next function to consume the first row, and then we could continue looping over it after that. This works because iterators are consumed as we loop over them. So that first row was consumed, and then we kept looping to get the rest of the rows. If you'd prefer to think in terms of the headers in your file, rather than in terms of the positions of data columns by their index, you could use csv.DictReader instead of csv.reader. Just like with reader objects, we can loop over DictReader objects to get the rows within our file. But unlike reader objects, we won't get back lists representing each row. We'll get back dictionaries. DictReader parses the first row in our file and assumes that it's the headers. It treats those headers as the keys in each of the dictionaries that it gives us back. So every dictionary that it gives us will have the same keys representing those headers. But the values in each dictionary will be different. Those will correspond to the data in the column corresponding to each of those headers in each row in our file. Now, while we can use Python's CSV module to parse comma-delimited data, we can also use it to parse other types of delimited data. Both csv.reader and csv.DictReader accept an optional delimiter argument, which defaults to comma. But here we're trying to read a tab-delimited file, so we're specifying a delimiter of a tab character, which means as we loop over rows in this file, it will split up each of those lines by a tab character instead of by commas. Python's CSV module includes helpers for reading CSV files. You can use csv.reader to get back lists representing each row in your file. Or if you prefer to rely on the headers in your file, you can use csv.DictReader to get dictionaries representing each of those rows.